Hi, I'm Greg Majewski, CEO and founder of Craveworthy Brands and host of Room for Seconds. On this week's episode of Room for Seconds, I have the honor to interview Troy Hooper, CEO of Pepper Launch North America. What makes Pepper Launch so cool is that this man is taking a brand from Japan and bringing it into the US and putting it back again into the world after making some changes without the world knowing, because you can't Americanize too far. This man and his team have done an incredible job, and you're going to get to hear all about it on this week's episode of Room for Seconds. And we can't wait to have you listen each and every week, so hit that subscribe button. As you all know, and as has been a common theme, a lot of the guests that are on the show are dear friends of mine. And the reason we do that is because, one, we can have a very open conversation. And what I hope comes from that open conversation is that we actually give you guys some things that we're not afraid to share, and that we can be real and authentic, and that we can give you nuggets that you can actually work with, or things that we're seeing in the industry. So today is one of my dearest friends, Troy Hooper, CEO of Pepper Launch, who is just booming in franchise sales, as he likes to tell everybody all the time. But he has done an absolute fabulous job bringing a concept from overseas into the US and is now expanding it at high rate. Food is outstanding. Concept is outstanding. And he's the man leading this charge. Troy, welcome.
You are very too kind, sir. But as I would expect a friend to over exaggerate, but thank you very much. We're working hard at it.
I didn't say you were good looking.
You're right. You did not. And you also did not say, Troy, you don't look 50 at all. No, nobody said that for my birthday, so that's okay.
Well, that's because someone decided to tell everyone you were 50 when you weren't.
I'm not. Well, apparently I don't look 49 either. I look older than 49, so that's okay.
So what would 49 look like? Like, how do you even tell?
Exactly.
I mean, 50,
that's an ambiguous age, isn't it?
50, Jeff Alexander. 50.
Yeah.
All right. Just
That's
kidding,
a sexy
Jeff. Don't
50
get mad.
right there. Yeah.
But I mean, how do you even tell anymore what we're supposed to look like?
No clue. I don't even try. I've always been bad at that, so I keep my mouth shut because I'm not going to get it right either way.
I never ask because I am very bad at it.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us a little bit about what's going on at Pepper Launch. Get that nonsense out of the way, and then we can have fun.
I love it. To your point, we are expanding for a brand that's only been on the market, available in the US for 13 months. We've had some good traction. We're very specific about who we want to work with as partners. So we've intentionally put ourselves in that position, but we've brought on 8 multi-unit franchise partners. We have 70 stores committed, and those stores are going to open in the next 4 to 5 years minimum. So we have a lot of development underway, a lot of construction and things like that. But look, we're a fast casual Japanese concept that is been in the United States for 7 years at a very small scale. And me and my team took over just under 2 years ago and built the infrastructure, built the team here in the US. Have done some retouches to a variety of things like upgrading the menu and updating the supply chain and things like that. And then, mostly tell the story of this 30-year-old, really iconic, ubiquitously known brand in Asia, because we have 520 stores in 16 countries now. And we're looking to expand not only in the US, but we're starting the process of expanding in Canada. We're going to Brazil in 2027. And we just internally announced, and by the time this goes live, it'll be fine to say out loud, that our ambitions are now the Middle East. And we've engaged with some partners to work on the process of supporting and building our team in Asia to support the growth opportunity in the Middle East. So we're off to the races. We're ready to go. And like you said, fast casual, in and out in 20 minutes for under $20, and really high quality protein rice and veg, protein pasta and veg, hot plate concept, and really fits into the Gen Z, Gen Alpha generation of interest in the growing interest in the Asian culture and cuisine. And we're right at the forefront of that, being one of the larger brands that can take advantage of it.
So what's cool about the concept, which you did not mention, is that there's no hoods in this concept, correct? So
yeah,
you
all
do your
electric,
hot plate
no
cooking.
gas, no real cooking. Yeah. So one of the better selling points from a business perspective is that we have no prep. We outsource to our purveyors all of the prep, sliced, diced, chopped, weighed, ready to go, vacuum packed individually or in small packages for us. We have great consistency across our sales mix, so very predictable throughput. So we have little to no waste, which is great. Because we don't have prep, a couple of things we get to take advantage of is certainly less labor hours overall because of that. We also don't need skilled labor. We don't need sous chefs and sauciers and executive chefs. We don't need people with knife skills to trim and butcher meats and things like that. So we're really, really simple operation from that standpoint. We run a store with 4 to 6 humans at peak. And so again, total low labor model, no skilled labor model, no prep model, makes it a simple, consistent operation, and certainly really helps on the prime cost and ultimately the EBITDA because of those things.
So don't think I've ever heard anyone say humans when you're
Yeah.
describing your workforce, but okay.
I think about
And
robots
again-
a lot, Jeff. Greg, see, got me thinking about Jeff Alexander, his sexy 50-year-old.
And production wise, we're going to go ahead and cut and splice because again, you're missing the fact that you're not talking that the customer really cooks the product. I
Yeah.
mean, that's sort of the cool feature. And the hot
I
stone
didn't
comes
know you
out
want me
and
to
you
give
can,
a full-on
well,
infomercial.
I
Okay.
gotta go ahead and at least give you the props. I mean, it's freaking cool.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very, very few concepts that are unique. This is a unique concept. The cooking style, what it is, what you're able to do, and the fact that it's been overseas and has been now coming to the mainland is something that obviously intrigues me. Hint, hint. Maybe I'm doing something similar here shortly,
Yeah.
but
Always doing
it,
something.
but it's something that is very, very exciting to see the fact that it does correlate with the changes that you've made. What were some of the changes that you had to make? What did you have to get to be able to expand in the US?
Yeah, and thanks for calling the experiential part of it out. I mean, that is a big thing about us is that you are cooking on a hot plate, not on some kind of cooking implement like a grill or Teppan grill or a hibachi grill or even like the types that you might see at a Korean barbecue. We actually use the plate that we serve it on as the cooking implement, and of course you get that sizzling, steaming effervescence that's fantastic for Instagram and shareability and the experience piece of it that you get to sauce it and cook it your way. That's a really important piece. So thanks for bringing that back up. Some of the changes for us were besides building out the infrastructure, we really established the global franchise business. Again, we really reinvented sort of what the business model of who, what, where, and how many we were going to sell, what we were going to charge, how we were going to support that. So that was one, and we've exported that. They're now using that in Asia, not only for new franchise sales, but also for renewals. So everybody's coming on to sort of the North American franchise system going forward. That's one. We've spent a year working on investigating the menu. Nobody had ever really taken a hard look at the menu holistically and said, is this the right menu? Are the right ingredients on this menu? Are the right portions? Is the flavor profile correct for North America particularly? But we actually audited it for the world. We went country by country and audited it for local flavor preferences and things like that. So we spent a year on that. That had a lot to do with the supply chain piece of it as well. We really have been globalizing the supply chain, unifying the supply chain. Every country was ordering sort of regionally for itself. There's a number of proprietary products that are very important to us on our sauces, particularly where our corn and black pepper come from is very important to our flavor profile. So we've been globalizing that and setting up infrastructure and systems to take advantage of economies of scale on a global scale. And then in the US, we really had to reestablish and establish a national supply chain, but reestablish our partners, whether we kept the existing, which we did in many cases, or we found new partners for a variety of reasons. We really had to go out to market and work with all of the vendors out there to establish a supply chain that would support a national and cross-border expansion in North America. And that's a big task. And so that's something that was a real big part of that menu innovation, re-engineering as well going forward. So now we're set up where we can get all of our proprietary products into one warehouse, can be distributed nationally, and the franchisee in Florida is going to pay the same price as the franchisee in LA where the product landed. And so, that process It takes time, it takes expertise, and I'm very fortunate to not only have my COO Mark Bailey, who has a pretty big background in that, but also my boss Yuto Tago from he's Japanese and operates our business out of Singapore. He comes from supply chain and manufacturing and logistics, and so he's been a really big help in this process to set us up. So really setting this up to be, the global business that it is, we're reestablishing all of those parameters so that we can be effective and be consistent everywhere we go.
I'm Greg Majewski, and I've been a multi-unit operator for 26 years. I know how great it feels owning the right franchise brand, but choosing the right franchisor feels even better. At Craveworthy Brands, our hospitality-driven culture sets us apart because we're invested in your success at every single stage of your journey. We're operators alongside you, paving the way forward to give you a head start on greatness. Start your franchise journey at craveworthybrands.com. Very, very cool. So with that, anything else on Pepper Lunch before we move into the fun stuff? Your infomercial is
No,
over.
that was way more. Thank you so much. No, that was way more. That was a big infomercial on Pepper Lunch.
And if any sales come from this episode, I expect my cut.
Hey, we always have a nice thank you gift for anybody that refers highly qualified multi-unit franchisees to us.
All right, so let's get into.
Greg, you too could be a Pepper Lunch franchisee.
I think I'm a little busy right now. So no. But if I ever stop, yes.
Okay.
Let's talk about some of the things that are actually affecting the industry and things that we're worried about. And I don't want to be, dread and thinking negative, but obviously the industry has had a ton of issues. And there's a ton of bankruptcies going on. Some of the legendary brands in America are filing. And the economic pressures that people are facing right now are a hell of a lot higher than what we've seen in the last 20 years. And that goes for 2008 and stuff like that. I think it's worse that we've seen for the industry. What are your sort of fears and thoughts, and where do you see this going in the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I mean the yo-yo roller coaster effect we've been on post-pandemic. It's been actually a really wild 4 years. I mean, whenever people started to feel that the pandemic was ending for them, and that was certainly very regionalized and could be very localized even to a brand's performance. There was a huge bubble that I don't know people in our industry really thought about long term in regards to that flush of cash into the country, and then the use of that. So we saw just record high sales. We thought 2019, since 2019 was the end of a 12-year nonstop run to the top, to see numbers be outperform 2019 in 22 and 23, I think gave a lot of restaurant operators and brands sort of a false sense of the future. And I don't know that most people in our business do not have an economics background or a forensic accounting background like you do. But inflation, I think, surprised a lot of people. And I think the lagging effect of inflation has surprised a lot of people. So that's the negative. The negative is we're all getting hit hard in large part due to high debt and inflation that the consumer is experiencing at this moment. Now, that being said, I've been very hopeful that a few things are going to happen over the next few months that will start the process of sending us in a more normalized and more stable futuristic position economically. But those are not assurances. The outcome of the election directly may or may not have some long-term effects. But I think in the zeitgeist and anxiety of the country, we will start to put that to bed regardless of the outcome. I think the initial reduction of interest rates got people very excited, but there's now some concern about whether those will continue. The thought was they would continue, at least in the short term. That may or may not actually happen now. So I think we're just in this sort of purgatory of time, this uncertainty of what the next 3 to 6 months are going to look like. So in that case, I'm just hoping that restaurant operators are being conservative, being observant, being thoughtful, listening to the customer, being caught off guard with, visit reduction and transaction reduction, on a per ticket basis, it should not happen to us. We should see some of these indicators and be ready for it and not have to knee jerk react with value menus and price reductions and all this kind of stuff. So those are sort of my overarching thoughts about where we are today.
So I agree with most of what you said, except I don't think we're anywhere near the bottom yet.
Yeah.
I think the consumer is dictating right now how bad they are hurting and feeling, and the high end restaurants and high end consumer, they're still going. Their life hasn't changed. It's the everyday bread and butter consumer that is feeling this pinch more than anything, and I don't know when that gets out of it until somewhere the level of income that they're getting has to go up.
Yeah.
So when you look at what happened in 2019 to where we are now, everyone's like, oh, inflation is stabilizing. Well, yeah, it's stabilizing against the last year, but it's still like this from 2019,
Yeah.
in 2020. And I don't know when people are going to be able to start saying, oh, let's go back to eat. So I think I've taken the opinion that restaurants have got to be nimble. They've got to create new menu items. They got to create value approaches without it being value based or discount based to drive consumers back to a more realistic dining experience. I personally think we're going to move to the more European plate size because of this. I think portioning is going to start to drop, and you're going to start charging less for that item to get people in the door. And that's going to be your new standard portion. And these extravagant meals for $17.99 and all that are what's going to go away as we do that. Because otherwise, I don't see how you get people back in. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with you that I think fast food continues to be in trouble. I think mediocre casual brands will be in trouble. I think in part what I hear when you say that and what I've been thinking about is it comes down to value. What is the value proposition to the customer? And like you said, they're driving it right now. There's not a lot we can do to get their attention other than steal them from the next door neighbor. Like that's all we're doing is we're playing a shell game with the consumer right now. Any consumer coming in your doors, very, very specifically did not go to somebody else. And that sounds kind of elementary, but the reality is it has been an and game for quite a while. Consumer was eating out 4 and 5 days a week. Now they may be 2 or 3 or less in many cases. And what I've attributed to the McDonald's decline, the Starbucks decline in particular, and some of these others is the value was no longer there. Not even value menu, the value of what I get for what I pay for. The trade up to fast casual has been dramatic. Like we've pepper lunch is up, and if you're flat or slightly down right now, if you're single digit down right now, you're probably okay. You're like thankful that you're not double digit down in many cases. So, the consumer realized that an $18 Big Mac meal versus a $21 Chipotle meal with extras on it, I'm just trading up. I'm going to get more quality or a better experience, or I'm going to get the perception of a higher quality meal and experience by trading up. So I think fast casual has seen the best of that sort of trade up environment. But I think you're right to the point. I mean, at the end of the day, the consumer's spending less, and that's probably not going to change anytime in the near term. So how do you win? How do you denote a value to them that makes you the winner of that wallet share today? It's just far more competitive. And I think we're going to continue to see a lot of brands struggle and fail.
Yeah, I do too. And when Chili's is bragging about the fact they're taking a McDonald's customer, that price is too high. And I've been preaching this for a while that the restaurant industry has been very, very bad at adjust pricing when our costs on food go down. So grocery stores and all that always beat us because milk price goes up, milk price goes down, milk price goes up. It's fluctuating. And restaurants don't do the same thing because it's expensive for us to price our menus, do our menus. And once we get something, we're all so tight margin. We don't want to give up anything back. We want to recoup what we lost. That's the way we all think.
Yeah.
And we're not going to be able to continue to do that and survive. So is that dynamic pricing that you continue to hear about in our industry, where I don't think that's what it is? Or, or do you do something else, or do you just price your menu more realistic to have the ebbs and flows where you introduce that smaller item and then have the bigger. We've got to do something to stay relevant for the rest of the community. And
Yeah, no, I agree with you. You know, I've watched it happen again. I really was hopeful that that pandemic would, with the shrinkage of menu, right? Everybody went back to their core. Everybody shrunk their menus to be highly executable with the smallest amount of skilled staff, and really focus on what the customer wanted, and that was awesome for a minute. And then we've just seen this menu creep and this menu bloat and this every great new idea is an add-on to the menu rather than in maybe what you're talking about is swapping some things out. You know, your core categories can be your core categories, and maybe your lead item for every category or lead two items for every category never change, right? Those are your staples. But can a restaurant be able and willing to, as long as they stay in their lane with their genre, with their specific type of food and what they do, how they do it, can they swap things out when the price of beef goes through the roof, as it is right now, starting to go through the roof? You know, can we swap things out on that menu that aren't cheaper beef or smaller portions of beef? Now, I agree with you on the portion thing. I think heading towards European sizes, I don't know if that's a way of saying it, but a lot of restaurants are doing it. Look, CPG's always done it. Shrinkflation pisses everybody off. They do it secretively and quietly, and they try to trick you. I think it's
but they don't drop price when they do it.
Right.
So,
but
I mean,
we could leave. I say
you
can
have to
leave
drop
price. Yeah.
I don't think you can leave price. That's the thing. I don't think you can leave price.
You just got to re-engineer it. Smaller portion, smaller price.
Greedy assholes that took price when we needed to, and now the consumer is telling us to go to hell. You know, in the industry as a standard.
The problem is we waited to take price. We waited to take price because the restaurant industry's always lagged behind commodities increases and other factors. And labor is the biggest driver at the moment. That's really not going anywhere. Labor's not going to go down. So we've got to get better and more efficient with that. But I don't disagree with you. Re-engineering so that you can start to introduce items that are smaller, lighter, less, even less ingredients. Like, do all those ingredients really matter to that thing? Can you get more efficient? Does every plate have to come with 2 pickles on the side of the plate? Probably not. Is anybody eating those pickles? How many pickles are going in the trash every day?
Does the secret spice and breading really need to have 18 spices when only one's 1/8 of a tablespoon for a 5-gallon bag? I mean,
a quarter of a gram sprinkle on top of something. Yeah.
I mean, yes, 100% agree. I just think we have to dial it in. I think the restaurant industry has to evolve both ways, because you're right. Labor is never going to change and labor is going to continue to go up. But that's been the argument for decades. Labor cost has gone up. You know, it's doubled multiple times since 2007, and minimum wage and all that across the board. So, I mean, you can survive that. You figure out how to add some automation, you bring in less people, you do prep during the day when you used to do it only in the morning. So there's ways to stretch your labor to make that number work. There is not ways to drive your food costs continually down to get the consumer to come in and spend more and come 2 or 3 times a week again. So when Jimmy John's was so badass and when we were killing it, our average customer came 3 times a week.
Yeah.
I mean, our average customer came 3 times a week.
Crazy.
And now, because we're so expensive, we're down to like a 1.25. You see the same customer because they can't afford to eat a cold cut sandwich, so you still have to, you can't miss what the truth is. And the truth is that they don't give a shit if labor's high. Yep. They care about what they're paying for. And we've got to get better to get that right. Otherwise, we're not going to get the transactions back.
Yep. Well, and look, nobody's going to switch their concept to a single product concept, but you have to look at the success across the board on all metrics of the Raising Cane's and Dave's Hot Chickens and Dutch Bros not maybe the best example, but these single or very limited menu concepts that just work on the ability to execute the same thing consistently over and over everywhere the same way. I mean, to a lot of degree, In-N-Out Burger really fits in that mold. It is a very limited menu at a very low cost, but then you add a bunch of stuff together and you end up paying the same, a little bit less than average at In-N-Out for a meal that you would anywhere else. But you had control and you had dominion over your destiny of what you were eating. But again, very simplistic, very replicable, very repeatable.
Okay. Shifting. What do you think restaurants need to do in marketing to stay relevant today? So what can we tell our guests and our listeners that, hey, these are things that are out there that we can do? Because again, you don't have a big footprint in the US. So you've got to be very, very strategic with your marketing dollars to get to your one store. So you're the perfect person to sort of give us the secrets on what you're doing to drive that revenue.
Yeah, look, I mean, Pepper Lunch is unique in that we have a lot of white space, a lot of permission to play and to be iterative, et cetera. The answer is full digital and as contextual as possible. I mean, there's just you can't say this loudly enough. You have to be as close to the customer and as informed by the customer's interests in and out of your restaurant. You have to know what these people are into in the most micro way and reach them where they are when it makes sense to them in their way. You can't just spray and pray. I've got this amazing ribeye steak and send it to a million people in a market when 800,000 of them don't give a shit. Like, you've got to utilize the technologies in existence today, whether that's OTT and you're hitting every device in the house. There's technology where you can create the same idea of a message 7 different ways. And the system, when deployed correctly, knows that the 12-year-old on his iPad gets one message and mom gets another message when she watches her shows versus dad gets another message when he watches football versus the teenager gets another message when she's on her desktop. And that is possible. You can own all of the devices on an IP within a house and deliver different contextual messages to the user. Now, that's an extreme example, but that's the way we have to be thinking. The first 3 pieces of technology I've hired and deployed, utilized at Pepper Lunch a year ago or more were customer engagement, customer listening, customer survey type platforms to start to develop a picture. What matters to our guests? What are they saying on social media? What are they saying when they write us a review? What are they saying when they leave a comment on another person's post? What are they telling us on a survey when we solicit specific questions? And how do we aggregate that data, not only just in themes, but to the type of person, the demographic? Women between 20 and 23 say this about your brand. And then we know what they bought, when they bought, how much they spent, so that we can have an idea of what matters to them, so we can craft messaging to that. And we'll see that deployed with us for the first time, probably at our ASU, our Tempe, Arizona store that's going to open last week of January, first week of February, where we have an audience that's huge and diversified, but very encapsulated geographically. We have 120,000 people in less than a 3-mile radius, most of them within a mile to mile and a half radius. 80% of them are students, or 75% of them are students. The rest are faculty and elder students, like graduate students and adult students going back to graduate programs. And then you have the community that supports Tempe, the greater community of Tempe, which is truly it's like living on a military base, right? It's like the people of the school living nearby. I really believe we're going to be able to segment our communication and our contextual messaging digitally into these different audiences. And since they're so close physically and they're so able to turn a corner and walk into our store without having sort of geography as a barrier or distance of time and convenience as a barrier, I'm really excited to see how some of these theories will play out in that sort of fishbowl environment. But at the end of the day, the answer to your question is contextualized marketing to the human being, and using the technology that allows you to do that, and or the combination of the humans that know how to deploy that technology.
So I was on a marketing call today with a company that was trying to sell me something similar to what you were talking about. And it ain't cheap, you
No.
know. It's extremely expensive, but they'll be able to tell me and advertise to my competitors for one of these brands, people that I deem are competitors that I'll be able to go after and just market to those 300,000 that live in this area. And it's remarkable to me that they say they can do it, but yet then you're like, okay, great. What is this going to cost me? And they give you the number, and it's like, how the hell am I going to pull this off? So for the
Yeah, no,
mom and
there's definitely a
pa's,
barrier.
it's hard.
Well, look, I think look, you can have a off the shelf templatized app, loyalty program, whatever, collecting data on your customers if you give them something valuable for it is worth the expense. And so what I'm saying is you don't have to spend the hundreds of thousands of dollars. You don't have to like the same idea is know your customer, communicate to them about them. And so even if that means you take what normally would have been three customer profiles and you split that into nine customer files, just niche it down and talk to the teenagers like teenagers, talk to the 20 somethings like 20 somethings, talk to the 40 somethings on Facebook, right? Where you talk to them, what you say to them, you can segment it pretty simply using the tools on the market. And then, of course, you can get more sophisticated over time. But it really is about knowing and we've had this conversation. You can do it anecdotally. You can do it, sit in your damn restaurant with a notepad and, profile your customers and just put time of day of week, age, gender, what they bought, right? And start to create a spreadsheet profile. Like it could be as analog and anecdotal as that, but the tools are getting too good and there's AI things all over the place that will help you do that. But it's really about what you send out. It's less, you got to know something, but even if you're taking a guess of who your customers are and what they want, it's about what you send to them has to resonate, and sending things that don't resonate to them costs money.
What AI tools are you referring to? Give them a little bit of help here.
Well, I'm very lucky in that my first hire was a technologist. Um, and we've actually developed our own AI bots. But look, he just used ChatGPT and Jasper. So here's something people don't know. So since March of 2023, he started feeding a ChatGPT, an individual GPT. What does that mean? It means our own little jar on a shelf inside of ChatGPT that says we're going to put everything we know about Pepper Lunch in here. Every report we get, every survey we get, every review we get, everything we know about this brand, we're going to keep stuffing into this AI engine. And we're going to tell it, this is your Pepper Lunch brain trust. Please file this away for usage later. And we've been training a GPT on ChatGPT and Jasper for almost 2 years. Well, a year and a half officially. And it knows a ton about us. So what does that mean? It means when we say, hey, create a social media post, create 30 social media posts, and we want to talk about our food, the social aspect, the experiential dining journey, customization of our food, our new menu, ingredient quality, whatever. We give them create 30 posts optimized for this age group and only use imagery and words relative to and we can tell it we want to hit Gen Z. Between this age and this age, they're in high school. They only eat out on Saturday afternoons with their friends. They spend less than $20, blah, blah, blah. And it will spit out a 30-day calendar of social media posts with hashtags, keywords, and the right words and languages because it knows Pepper Lunch. We've been teaching it Pepper Lunch for a year and a half. So it looks and sounds like Pepper Lunch, but it's in their context. That's an example of AI, and that is on the shelf. You pay 24, 40 bucks, whatever it is a month for ChatGPT Pro Plus, whatever. But you have to do that little bit of work. You have to feed AI information about your brand. And we have the same thing for Troy. I haven't written an article well, LinkedIn, I do all by hand. But when you see blog posts and articles and PR releases from Pepper Lunch, it's been written by AI since day one. It's actually been 100%, 98% AI, probably for about 6 months. It took us about 8 or 9, 10 months for the AI to get good enough as a system and to learn enough about my voice, my cadence, my way of speaking, Pepper Lunch's voice, brand identity, etc., that now one guy, a one-man creative director can create all of our copy and all of our visual assets and things very, very quickly for no added cost, no agency required, and then we just edit it from there, and then we can put it out, and if it performs, we put money behind it. Organic, paid organic social. It's a big thing now. Put all of your stuff out for free for organically, and when something hits, when something gets 2, 3, 5x engagement, then that's the thing you do more of. And that's, you tell the AI, this post is my best performing post in the last 30 days. I want more posts like it.
All right. If you had to look for a mentor in the industry today, who do you go to and why do you need them? Not,
Well, I
and you don't
stopped
have to
calling
name
you because you're
names.
too damn busy.
I always answer your calls, asshole.
No, we all need, yeah. Look, we all need mentors. I mean, if you're an independent operator, small brand founder, or I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're at the highest level. You got to be in the room with other people for perspective. So, what's the easiest? The easiest is join online forums and groups. Sean Walchef has Digital Hospitality. I've been a part of for almost 4 years. That's twice a week for an hour on LinkedIn Live. And you just hear other people's perspectives. You build a community where you feel comfortable asking for help, asking for insights, collaborating with other people, et cetera. Absolutely. You and I both believe in the power of conferences and summits and get-togethers like that. Not every operator can leave their business for 3, 4, 5 days. And certainly they can't do it multiple times a year. But the answer is get out there, find your community in person, online, or look, direct message. Like, I'm weirdly available and take a lot of calls that take time out of doing other things. But I, like you, and you're very much like this, we want to give back. We want to share what we know. We want to share what we experience. We want to give our opinion, whether it's the right opinion for you or not. Like, just ask. I mean, the reality is I asked you a couple of years ago. I mean, I always looked at you as a mentor and said, hey, can I get 10 minutes? Can I get 15 minutes? And that's what it was initially, right? And then, okay, great. We formed a relationship and a friendship, but that doesn't have to be the case. The case can be that, hey, can I call on you? Can I shoot you an email? Can I shoot you a text message once in a while and get your opinion or your thought, or ask you if I'm making the right decision, or who should I call? I mean, a lot of times it's resource sharing, right? At the end of the day, it's like, yeah, you should call Zach at Zach Oates at Ovation, and we use him, and there's a reason, right? Let us help you not reinvent the wheel. So I just think there's a lot of places, just whatever's right for you. Sometimes people don't want to do stuff in person. That's fine. There's lots of forums and gatherings online. There's lots of forums and gatherings in person, and there's plenty of opportunity to ask for help. And the reality is, in this business, we're all in the hospitality business. I know you believe this. You're pretty hard pressed to ask anybody in this industry at a leadership role for their time and opinion and suggestions on how to help you do something better and get a no. You're not going to get a no. Like, most people are going to be like, sure, maybe I don't have time on my calendar anytime soon, but shoot me an email about it. I'll give you some quick thoughts, and then maybe if we get a chance to meet up, we can talk about it further. But that's the way it works. You got to ask for help.
Yep, you have to ask. And 90% of people are willing to help. I mean, that's, again, the hospitality industry. And you get the 10 that are just jackasses that don't want to give anything away. And that's all right. They will have their day,
Yeah.
And
oh my God. And if you had to ask 2 people to get the answer instead of 1, you're not asking 100 people to get the information you're looking for. Like, you're going to get it pretty quick. If you strike out once, it's going to be once, like you said. I don't even know if it's going to be 10% of the time you're going to get somebody.
There's 10%.
Yeah,
there's 10% jackasses in this industry. And I'm being nice as I can. And
I try to surround myself with nice people like you, Greg.
But there are definitely those people that are, and there's those people that you don't think they're ever going to give you a true answer. They're always going to hold something back. A good mentor is going to tell you exactly what they think if you like it or don't like it.
Yeah.
And if you're going to ask for help, you got to be willing to take what is being given to you as constructive feedback, no matter which way it goes. There's times where I go to mine and they're like, you're an idiot right now. You need to look at this, this, and this, get off your high horse and move this way.
Yeah.
And those are the conversations and the people you have to surround yourself with. You have to surround people that are going to give you the honest truth, one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely. Because look, it's hard. The higher up you get, it's actually harder because everybody wants to sort of fluff and give you niceties. And I'm like, oh, that's a waste. Next. Like, I'm looking for the guy like you who will call my ass out on stage in front of 300 people and say, you know what? No, that's not right. I wouldn't do that. That's wrong. But you know what? We all need that. And like, it's hard to find. So if you can find it now, get it and keep it, because you need honest insights. Otherwise, it's a waste of your time, and it might send you down the wrong path, and certainly might give you delusions of grandeur, which are more dangerous than not having any information, is having bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm okay having people wait for me when I get off stage now to tell me and ask me why the hell I called them out. It doesn't bother me. Subway. It tends to do a very good job of this with me. But again, I speak what I think is the truth. And that's what you need to get from the people that you surround yourself with, or the people that go on stage, or the people that are taking the time. If they're going to give you a constant fluff piece, or just say, oh yeah, your brand's great, you don't need to do anything, you should be hitting a home run, go find someone else to talk to, because you're not going to get any better.
When you hear something you're not sure you like, you found the right piece of information. You got an honest answer at that point.
Okay, to wrap it up, Troy, where can everybody find you?
J.Troy Hooper on.
And we forgot, you have your own podcast, which I was on.
I do.
Got to plug that too.
Okay. So LinkedIn's the easiest, best, and most prolific place you'll find me sharing my opinions without solicitation. J.Troy Hooper on LinkedIn. If you just put Troy Hooper Pepper Lunch, Troy Hooper Kiwi, which is Kiwi Restaurant Partners, our brand consulting and scaling business, or the Pineapple Perspective. Hopefully that will start to come up for you. So that's my show, the Pineapple Perspective. It's on YouTube. It's on all the audio channels, wherever you find podcasts and things like that. And, I do this with people like Greg. And, we come at it with our own idea around every business being in the hospitality business. So the Pineapple Perspective with Troy Hooper, sponsored by Pepper Lunch Restaurants, everywhere you listen or watch such shows online.
All right. Well, Troy, thank you. I will see you in a week at RFDC, I believe.
RFDC
We're going to date this a little bit. So, but whenever this airs, we would probably have already seen each other, but yes. And then anyone wants to go ahead and watch our episodes, make sure you go ahead and follow Room for Seconds down below, YouTube, LinkedIn, all your podcast software and everything else. Justin will go ahead and make me repeat all this afterwards. And Troy, thank you very, very much for coming out. I truly appreciate you as a friend, and I absolutely love that you're crushing it the way you are. So everybody, till next time. Hey viewers, thanks again for supporting Room for Seconds. If you found this episode inspiring, interesting, or any bit informative, please hit that little subscribe button down at the bottom so you never miss an episode. In my 26 years in this amazing industry, I've been blessed with incredible mentorship. This show is my way of giving back. Follow me on LinkedIn, search Greg Majewski, on Twitter @Greg_Majewski. If you still have room for more, visit our website at media.craveworthybrands.com. You'll find more videos, shows, notes, blogs, resources, and an easy way to get in touch with the Craveworthy Brands team. I'm your host, Greg Majewski. Thanks again for tuning in to Room for Seconds.